Trying to go right across here and tie into an existing junction box there to help get rid of some of this water into the harbor. And right now we're at a stalemate with the navigation district who doesn't want us to make that connection, and you'd have to ask them the reason, because I don't read minds very well, but basically they're saying they would like a trash catcher, which in these kind of flood events, a trash catcher is bypassed. It does no good. The trash catcher could cost anywhere from $200,000 to $250,000, which the city does not have the money to put that in. And in a 7 or 10 inch rain, it won't work anyway. So it's a waste of taxpayers' money. And then the other thing is they want some guarantee that the drainage will not raise the elevation of the water in the harbor. Well, the drainage in a static environment, if we didn't have this high tide, it would flow out as fast as it came in. There's no way it can raise the elevation of the water in the harbor, or in the bay, or in the Gulf, or in the Atlantic. But they don't seem to understand that. So now we're in this situation we have right now, where we have the historic downtown that's flooded. I talked to a merchant yesterday, and he said he's been there 10 years, and 10 times he has had water in his store. He can't afford even the deductible for flood insurance, which is about $5,000 just for the deductible to repair it. He said, I can change all my carpet out for that amount of money. But he said, I flooded 10 times. And this is what breaks my heart, because there is no reason for it. All the development that has ever been done along the waterfront, the owners had provided access for drainage across the berm to get into the water. And now, in the last 3 years, the city has been fighting a battle about getting the navigation district to let us drain into the harbor for whatever reason. But there's no justification for destroying people's lives and livelihood and being an elected official. The enemy has landed, and they're right over there in the navigation office. And I've written a paper about this, and I'm tired of fighting the battle, and my goal is, before I die, to help solve this problem.
And I know a lot of people feel the same. I've talked to a few residents who have a lot to say about the drainage system and how it's not worked very well, and that it's still a problem, an ongoing problem.
Well, every community meeting the city have had from people concerned about drainage, they said the same thing. Do something to help our drainage so we don't flood. And it's not just right here, it's all over the town. And because of that, the General Land Office has about 5 projects going. This is a city project on Concho, but on Market Street and going north, Arlene Street, the Tule Creek Watershed Project, all of those are grant funded after Hurricane Harvey. And what we're trying to do is improve the drainage situation. And we've got, our city and our county have been working hard to do that. But now we have a situation where we have a navigation board that, under the context of we're going to save Little Bay, or we're going to save the waters of the county, and they're stopping the drainage. We had to divert Market Street, which is flooded right now. There's a project right there. You can go down to the waterfront and see it. We had to divert that pipe to go around the navigation district property because we didn't want the same battle down there. So we're having to spend taxpayers' money, whether it's local, state, or federal money. We're having to spend taxpayers' money to avoid dealing with the navigation district. And you can tell I'm passionate about it.
Yes.
And I'm not the only one, but I'm the one that this is what Dennis and I were talking about. My family have, throughout history, and I've said this many times, that pages of the history of this community is stained by the blood and blotted by the tears of my family and my ancestors. If they were alive today, they'd be right beside me. We are not going to continue to let this town flood, and definitely not by people that we elect to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our community. That is just almost unspeakable. It's like in the Bible in the last chapter of Judges, where it was written that Israel was without a king, and every man did what was right, what they thought was right in their own eyes. And that's what's happening. We have people that they do what they think is right in their own eyes, but they don't weigh the cost of what it cost everybody else. And I'm not going to let this thing die. And you know, I'm trying to come up with an epitaph I can put on my tombstone. You know, and I guess the only thing I could say is I cared, and I do care. And it's not about me, it's not about my personal property, it's about all this community that I love. I ought to give you some of the papers I wrote. You'd be amazed that I've written them like, let my people drain, and then to drain or not to drain, that is the question. I mean, these things tell the story of what we're up against. But anyway, I've probably talked too long.
No, I just appreciate how you are very passionate. You have a lot to say. So
well, it breaks my heart. These are my friends.
Yeah.
I had my class reunion back in April, and I had two of my best friends their dads owned businesses downtown. This is all the way back in the '60s, and he said, yes, every time we had a rain, you can't believe one of them had a drugstore and one of them had a food store. He said what we had to go through to clean up after these type of rain events. And we're talking about a foot, 18 inches of water. We're not talking about a storm where, like in the 1919 storm where you had over 9 feet of water. We're talking about these rain events. These things are only supposed to happen every 500 years. They're called a 500-year rain event. But we've had, probably in the last, since Harvey, we've probably had 3 of them, including Harvey.
And this happens every
right,
time.
it happens because the tide water comes up and the drainage, we get heavy rain events, it runs down the peninsula and it comes down to the water. It's got to get into the bay. There's no other way for it to do. God designed this peninsula this way, but he didn't know the hearts of man were going to be hardened to the point that they would rather flood the community than to let the water blow into the bay.
Yeah, I hear that message.
Well, I'm livid about it, as you can tell.
And what's your name again?
What is that?
Your name?
I'm Jerry Brundett.
Okay.
Brundrett.
Okay.
Right.
Well, Jerry, we'll probably run this. We'll probably use this because
Please do.
we go and ask people for interviews, and most people don't want to talk. So I got 2 days worth of interviews right here.
I am definitely not bashful, I can tell you.
Well, thank you.
And neither, I was telling Dennis during the Civil War when the Union forces landed on San Jose Island, where my family lived, in the middle of the night, my second great grandmother gets on a horse and rides all the way up the island, warning all the settlers up and down the island that the Union forces had landed. She did that at great risk. She didn't weigh the cost before she did it. She did it because it was the right thing. And all throughout history, that's the DNA that I have in me.
Yeah, very true. Well, we appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Use what you want to.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You
Thank
too,
you.
sir. You have a
God
good
bless
one.
you.
Appreciate